The desert behind them was fading, but the danger was only growing. Cole sat in the pilot seat of his small starcruiser, staring at the blinking screen. Sector 9 was far, across systems filled with criminals, traitors, and those who didn't ask questions. He tightened his grip on the control stick. That's where she was, the mother. And now he had two scared children who believed he could bring her back. Behind him, the girl was whispering something in her alien language. The little boy had fallen asleep, his head in her lap. Cole turned and watched for a moment. The girl saw him, then slowly spoke one soft word. Talama. He didn't understand it at first. Then he remembered the word from his time in the frontier zones. It meant, protect her father. He looked away quickly. He didn't feel like a protector. He had run from wars, from guilt, from everyone who ever needed him. And yet here he was, flying into a criminal sector to save someone he'd never met. Because two children believed in him, Cole activated the CUM system. Dax, he said again. The eye answered with a bored tone. You again, hero? I need more than coordinates, Cole replied. I need a plan. Sector 9 is not a place for humans, Dax warned. It's not a place for anyone who values breathing. I don't need to breathe for long, Cole said sharply. Wow, Dax chuckled. Still full of fire. Dax sent a new data file, full of ship schematics, auction schedules, and patrol routes. The mother was listed as Lot 17, under the name Type Unknown, High Value. That usually meant she was strong, rare, or beautiful, something slavers thought could sell for more. It made Cole sick. He checked the auction schedule. Less than 48 hours. That was all the time he had to reach the station. Sneak inside and get her out alive. Suddenly, the ship lights flickered. The boy woke up and let out a small, frightened cry. Cole rushed back, kneeling beside him. It's okay, he whispered. It's just the engines. The boy looked at him with wide, wet eyes, then reached out and grabbed Cole's arm tightly, like he was holding on to the last piece of safety. Left in the universe, Cole stayed there for a moment, letting the boy hold him. The girl slowly reached out too, touching Cole's other hand. No words, no sound, just quiet connection in that silence. Cole made a promise he didn't say out loud. He would bring their mother back, or he would not come back at all. The ship entered warp speed. Stars stretching outside the windows. Cole spent the journey training, rebuilding old instincts, sharpening his old tools. He cleaned his old plasma revolver, checked every blade and charge pack. He wasn't the soldier he used to be, but he didn't need to be perfect. He just needed to survive long enough to save her. The next day, as they approached the edge of Sector 9, Cole hid the children inside a smuggler's compartment below the cockpit. It was lined with energy shields and would mask life signs. Don't make a sound, he told them. If I don't come back in time, fly to these coordinates. He handed the girl a small device. She stared at it, then looked back at him with wide, silent eyes. She didn't understand, but she knew what goodbyes felt like. Cole docked at a hidden trade post near the auction zone. He used forged papers Dax provided, claiming to be a trader of rare medical components. The guards didn't ask questions. Humans were rare here, but not forbiddens. Inside, the auction platform was being set up. Tall cages lined the walls, most of them still empty, but a few already held living beings. Some were sleeping, others crying, and some sat with lifeless eyes. Cole scanned each one, hoping, praying. Then he saw her, Lot 17. She was tall, with soft purple skin like her children, her long dark hair messy, face bruised. But her eyes were still alive. She sat in the corner of the cage, gripping the same torn cloth the girl had shown Cole back in the ruins. It was hers. The mother was real, and she was still holding on. A slaver passed by, laughing. Pretty one, eh? He said, not noticing Cole's clenched fists. Got a strong will, but the collar works fine. Cole nodded without speaking, then turned away. He had to move fast. He couldn't just buy her. He didn't have enough credits. He had to take her, and he had to do it before someone else did. He walked to a quiet corner and whispered to his wrist console. "Dax, I found her." "Good," the AI replied. "But bad news, Cole." "What?" "There's already a buyer." Cole froze. "Who?" "Someone with deep pockets and bad taste," Dax said grimly. "They're sending guards to collect her in a few hours." Cole's jaw tightened. He was running out of time. He looked at the auction cage one more time. The mother turned her head suddenly, as if sensing something. Her eyes locked with his. For a second, there was no sound. No space, no fear, just recognition, not of him but of hope. She stood slowly, gripping the bars, her lips trembling. "Ma, yay!" She whispered the name of her daughter. Cole stepped back, his heart pounding. This wasn't just a mission anymore, it was a rescue. And in that moment, he knew he would burn this whole place down to get her back. The gates of Sector 9's main auction zone were tall and rusted. Made from scrap metal and bones, they stood like teeth guarding a monster's mouth. Cole passed through them in silence, his forged trader badge hanging from his chest. His eyes scanned everything, but not like a buyer. He was searching for every weakness, every shadow, every way in and out. Because if anything went wrong, and it would, he wouldn't be leaving the same way he came. Inside, the air was thick with heat, smoke, and the smell of sweat and blood. Creatures from across the galaxy stood in cages, some crying, some silent, some already broken, and above them, watching from the steel balconies, were buyers rich and cruel, dressed in silk and armor. They pointed, whispered, laughed. Cole moved among them carefully. He kept his eyes on Lot 17. The alien mother sat with her back straight, still holding the torn cloth in her lap. She didn't cry, she didn't beg, but her eyes searched quietly, hopefully. And when they landed on him again, Cole felt it. She remembered him from before, even though they had never met. She must have seen him in her daughter's eyes. He turned away quickly. He couldn't afford to show emotion here. Emotion meant weakness, and weakness got people killed. Down below the auction floor, in a storage tunnel, Cole met an old contact, Kiro. A two-armed smuggler with a mechanical jaw and loyalty only to credits. "You better be right about this," Kiro grumbled. "If I get caught helping the humans steal from the market, you'll get paid double," Cole replied coldly, handing over a small chip. Kiro scanned it and raised an eyebrow. "This real?" "It's old military tech, clean and untraceable," Kiro nodded slowly. "You got 15 minutes, he said, handing Cole a small bag. "Weapons, jammer, smoke. Pellets, no guns? Fire one shot, and the whole sector will be on you," Kiro said. "Be fast or be dead." Cole took the gear and returned to the crowd above. The auctioneer, a tall alien with a deep mechanical voice, began the announcements. Lot 14. War Beast from Zorn Prime starting at 3,000 credits. People started bidding, voices rising. Cole leaned against the rail, one hand on his hidden communicator, the other near the small control switch for the jammer. He wasn't bidding on anything, he was waiting for Lot 17, waiting for the moment the system unlocked her cage. That was his chance. Back in the ship, hidden beneath layers of shielding, the two children waited. The girl kept the little boy close, holding him tightly. She stared at the monitor that showed the auction feed. When she saw her mother on the screen, she gasped. Tears filled her eyes. "Mama," she whispered, over and over again. The boy woke up and started crying too, pressing his face into her shoulder. They could see her, but they couldn't reach her. Not unless the human brought her back. Back at the auction floor, Lot 17 was announced. Type unknown, adult female. Strong biology, special features, the auctioneer shouted. Starting bid 10,000 credits. Gasps filled the air. Cole kept his eyes low. The mother was brought forward by two guards. One held a control stick, the other had a blaster. Her collar blinked red, signaling she couldn't run. She looked straight ahead, proud but trembling. Cole pressed the jammer switch. Nothing happened at first then. The lights above flickered. The control collars glitched for a second, just enough to interrupt the connection. The auctioneer cursed and tapped his comlink. Buyers looked around, confused. Cole dropped a small device from his coat. It hit the floor with a click. Smoke exploded into the air. Panic began instantly. Buyers screamed. Guards shouted. Alarms rang. But Cole was already moving. He jumped from the upper rail and landed hard near the cage floor. Rolling into cover, he reached Lot 17's cage and fired. A short burst from a microblade, slicing the lock. "Come on," he said, grabbing her arm. She hesitated for only 1 second, then followed. Guards swarmed toward them, but the smoke slowed them down. Cole threw a flash pellet behind him. Blinding light filled the area. The mother ran beside him, stumbling, but strong. They reached the lower escape tunnel where Kiro had rigged the hatch. It opened, just in time. "Move!" Cole shouted, pulling her through. Once inside, the tunnel collapsed behind them, metal locking into place. No one could follow. They ran together through the narrow corridor, alarms echoing above. The mother's breathing was heavy, but she didn't stop. And then the girl's voice came through the communicator. "Mama?" The mother froze. She grabbed the device from Cole's belt and held it to her ear. Tears ran down her face for the first time. "Leia, my babies," she whispered. Cole nodded. "We're close," he said, "but we need to keep moving." As they exited the tunnel and reached the ship's landing pad, Cole saw movement. A tall, armored figure stood at the end of the path. Waiting, he knew that armor. Vrek, a warlord known for buying the most valuable slaves. He was the buyer, and he wasn't going to let her go easily. The mother stepped forward, eyes full of fire now. She raised her hands like claws. "I will never go back," she said with a growl. Cole stood beside her, his hand on the last smoke charge. He looked at Vrek with steel in his eyes. "You already lost," Cole said. "Now get out of the way." The landing platform trembled under the heat of the engines. The wind whipped dust across the open space, but no one moved. Cole and the alien mother stood side by side, facing the armored warlord. Vrek, tall, cold, and built like a machine. His armor was dark red with silver edges, and his face was hidden under a sharp visor. Behind him, armed guards spread out slowly, surrounding the platform like wolves closing in on prey. "You're brave, human," Vrek said, voice thick with poison. "But bravery dies fast here." He took a step forward, his boots scraping the metal floor. "That female is mine legally. Purchased," he continued. "Hand her over, and I'll let you crawl away." The mother stepped closer to Cole, her eyes fierce. "She is not yours," Cole said firmly. "She was never anyone's property." Vrek let out a low laugh and signaled his guards. At once, blasters powered up with high-pitched hums. Cole whispered to the mother, "When I throw the charge, run to the ship's ramp, don't stop." She nodded, clutching the cloth in one hand, the same piece she had held since the beginning. Cole activated the last smoke grenade and rolled it forward. As it exploded, thick fog swallowed the platform. Blaster bolts fired blindly, lighting up the smoke in flashes. Cole ran with the mother behind him, his boots sliding as he dodged between the beams. A guard rushed out of the fog, swinging a baton. Cole ducked and slammed his shoulder into the alien's chest, sending him flying off the edge. Another tried to grab the mother, but she spun, slashing with the broken metal shard she'd picked up. The guard fell screaming, blood spraying across the ground. They reached the ship's loading ramp. The children had opened it from inside. When the mother saw them, she froze. Her eyes widened, heart pounding in her chest. "Leia, Raymai," she whispered. The girl and boy stood at the top of the ramp, shaking, confused, scared. But then they recognized her. "Mama!" The girl screamed. The boy ran forward first, stumbling into his mother's arms. She dropped to her knees, clutching him tightly, her body shaking with silent sobs. The girl joined them, wrapping her arms around them both. It was the first time the family had touched in days. The first time they had all felt real, even Cole. Standing behind them with blood on his sleeve, felt his chest tighten. He turned away, giving them their moment, but the reunion didn't last long. A loud metal clang echoed across the platform. Vrek had pushed through the smoke and now stood at the bottom of the ramp, blaster in one hand, blade in the other. Touching, he growled, "Now step aside, or I'll paint this ramp with your warm blood." Cole didn't move. He stood at the top of the ramp in front of the family. "Last warning," Vrek said. Cole raised his weapon, but didn't fire. Instead, he pressed a small button on his wrist. A hidden turret under the ship's belly activated. Swinging out and locking onto Vrek, it beeped once, then glowed red. "Your move," Cole said. Vrek hesitated. He wasn't used to being threatened, but he also wasn't a fool. He stepped back slowly, lowering his weapon. "This isn't over," he hissed. "You think saving one mother makes you a hero?" Cole didn't answer. He simply stared, silent and calm. As the turret tracked every move, Vrek turned and vanished into the shadows of the station. For now they had won. Inside the ship, the doors sealed tight. The mother cradled her children, whispering soft words in their native tongue. Cole sat down in the cockpit, breathing heavily. His body ached. His shoulder was bruised, and his ribs felt cracked. But the moment he heard the laughter of the little boy, he smiled. The girl walked up to him slowly. She looked at him for a long moment, then said one word again. "Talima." Cole looked down, unsure what to say. But then the mother stood behind the girl and spoke softly in English. "It means father who protects." Cole nodded. "I'm not their father," he said quietly. "You are now," the mother replied. Her voice wasn't angry or forceful. It was soft, grateful, and full of something he hadn't felt in a long time: trust. The ship lifted from the platform and soared into the black sky. Sector 9 shrank behind them, disappearing into the stars. They were free, at least for now. But freedom always came with a price. Cole didn't know where they would go next. He didn't have a plan. All he knew was this: he wasn't alone anymore. He had something to fight for, something to protect, and no matter what came next, he would never let them be taken again. The stars outside the ship moved fast. Cole guided the controls carefully, watching every radar ping and warning light. They had escaped Sector 9. But the journey was not over, in fact. The most dangerous part was just beginning, inside the ship. The mother held her children close. The little boy had fallen asleep in her arms. Breathing soft and steady, the girl stayed awake, sitting beside her mother and watching the stars from the window. Every few minutes, she looked back at Cole, as if to check that he was still there, still protecting them. Cole was silent, focused. His hands moved quickly as he changed course, cut power to the outer lights, and shifted their energy signature. They couldn't risk being tracked. Sector 9 had spies, pirates, and bounty hunters, and he had just stolen one of their most valuable prisoners. He knew a price would be placed on his head soon, if it wasn't already. He turned to the mother and asked, "Can she understand ship controls?" The mother nodded. "She's young but smart." "Good," Cole said. Then called the girl forward. He showed her a small screen and said, "If I get hurt or can't fly, press this auto jump to safe zone." The girl looked up at him, surprised. "But you'll fly us," she said softly. Cole smiled faintly. "I'll try." Suddenly, an alarm beeped. Cole sat up straight and read the display. "Tracking beacon detected," it said. His heart dropped. Vrek must have placed a tracer on the ship during the fight. Now someone was following them fast. He activated the scan. And sure enough, a hostile vessel was closing in from behind. A small war chaser, heavily armed and built for speed. "Hold tight," he said quickly, rising from his seat. He handed a small weapon to the mother. "Just in case," he said. She took it, looking into his eyes. "I trust you," she whispered. He didn't answer. He just turned and ran to the lower bay. He opened a panel and ripped out the old heat core housing. It had to be done manually. If he fried it from the cockpit, the whole ship might explode. He worked fast, sparks flying across his gloves. Meanwhile, the ship shook. Enemy fire was hitting the rear shields. The children screamed and held onto their mother. She stood in front of them, arms wide, trying to protect them from whatever came through next. Cole finally ripped the tracer free and tossed it into a launch tube. He fired it toward a nearby asteroid field, hoping it would fool the enemy ship. For a few seconds, there was silence. Then the radar showed the enemy turning. Following the fake signal, Cole exhaled slowly, sweat dripping from his forehead. He climbed back up and collapsed into the pilot's seat. "We lost them," he said, breathless. The children looked at him like he was made of steel. The mother placed her hand on his shoulder. "You saved us again," she said, but Cole wasn't. Smiling, he stared at the energy levels, now dangerously low. "One more jump," he said. "That's all we've got left. Where to?" The mother asked. "There's a small moon," Cole replied. "Unregistered, peaceful, far from slavers," she nodded. "Take us there." He set the coordinates and activated the jump drive. The ship groaned as power flowed through old wires and cracked coils. The stars stretched and then silence. They landed in orbit above a pale blue moon, covered in green fields and silver mountains. No weapons, no cities, no beacons, just safety. Cole guided the ship gently onto a soft hill. The doors opened and fresh air rushed inside. The children stepped out first, eyes wide, amazed by the soft grass under their feet. The boy laughed as a bird-like creature flew past him. The girl twirled, her arms open, as if she was flying. Herself and the mother, she just stood in the light, letting the wind touch her face. For the first time in a long time, she smiled. A real, deep, peaceful smile. Cole stepped out last, holding his side, which still hurt from the blaster wound. He walked to the edge of the hill and looked up at the sky. The stars were calm, now no more ships, no more danger. The storm was behind them. But inside, he still felt a weight. He knew this wasn't the end. There would always be more slavers, more hunters, more enemies. But for now they had peace. The girl came up beside him and took his hand. "You're really not going to leave, right?" she asked. Cole looked down at her and squeezed her hand gently. "I'll stay as long as you want me to," he said. The mother joined them, standing on his other side. "You gave us freedom," she said, "and something more." Cole raised an eyebrow. "What?" She looked at him with eyes full of quiet strength. "You gave us a father." And as the wind moved through the grass and the sky turned golden, Cole realized something he never expected. He wasn't just protecting them anymore. He belonged to them now, and he didn't want to be anywhere else. The quiet moon was nothing like the places Cole had known. There were no sirens, no lasers, no running. Only wind through tall grass and soft-colored skies. Every morning, the air smelled like wet earth and flowers. Every night, the stars returned like old friends. Time moved slower here, and somehow, that was okay. Cole sat under a tree, his arms behind his head, staring at the sky. The children were nearby, laughing as they chased a tiny glowing insect. Their voices rang out across the hill, real laughter. Not the kind mixed with fear. The little boy Rame kept tripping over the grass, but he always got back up and smiled. The girl, Leia, ran like she had wings on her feet, strong, fast, full of life. The mother, her name was Zura, was gathering fresh fruit from low-hanging trees. She wore simple clothes now, not torn or dirty like before. Her long dark hair was braided neatly, and her bruises were gone. She looked peaceful. But there was always a bit of alertness in her eyes. She had learned the hard way that peace could vanish in a second. But she also knew Cole wouldn't let that happen again. Cole had fixed part of the ship into a small shelter on the hill. It had solar power, water filters, and a working stove. He had planned to leave it for them and go. That was the idea, rescue them, then disappear. But day after day, he stayed. One morning, Cole was fixing the outer solar panel when Leia came up to him. She handed him a small folded cloth, the same one her mother had held. Only now it had been cleaned and patched with tiny, careful stitches. Leia looked serious, her little hands holding the cloth tightly. "This is yours now," she said. Cole blinked. "No," he said softly. "That belongs to your mother." Leia shook her head. "She says it belongs to the person who brought us back to her." Cole looked down at the cloth, feeling a lump in his throat. He took it gently and placed it in his chest pocket. "Thank you," he whispered. Later that night, they sat around a small fire. Zura served food from a bowl she had carved herself. It was simple roots and cooked grains, but warm and comforting. The children ate happily, giggling between bites. Cole took small bites, watching them more than eating. Zura looked at him, her voice soft. "You never told me why you helped." "U.S." Cole stirred his food, then replied, "Because once, long ago, I cried too. But no one came." Zura didn't ask more. She didn't need to. She reached out and placed her hand over his for a moment. That was enough. The next morning, Cole woke up early and walked to the edge of the hill. He looked at the stars again, thinking about all the places he had been, all the wars, all the broken promises, all the people he couldn't save. But now behind him, there was a family, not by blood, but by something deeper. By choice, by bond, by heart. Zura came to stand beside him, her hair blowing in the morning wind. "Where will you go next?" she asked. "I don't know," he said. "I don't want you to leave," she said softly. He looked at her, surprised. "Why?" "Because when the children sleep, they smile now," she replied. "Because I sleep now too." Cole looked down, unsure. "I don't know how to be a father," he said quietly. "You already are," Zura replied. "You just don't see it yet." That night, Leia crawled into his lap and fell asleep against his chest. Ramai hugged his leg before going to bed. Zura sat across from him, watching with tired eyes and a small smile. In that moment, Cole stopped feeling like a visitor. He wasn't just a stranger who helped and left. He was part of them now. One day, Cole built a small flag near the shelter. It wasn't a country's flag or a symbol of war, just a piece of cloth with a handprint, his and the children's, and Zura's all together. He planted it on top of the hill, not to mark land but to mark belonging. And when the children asked what the flag meant, Cole smiled and said, "It means we came from pain, but we stayed for love." The war was far behind them now, but the memories would never fully fade. Still, each day, they added new memories of laughter, of safety, of family. And each day, Cole looked less like a soldier and more like something else, something better. He was never just a stranger. He had become the father they cried for, the man who came when no one else did and stayed when they needed him most.